Now that your paper mache mask has had a chance to dry, we are going to add details and decorations to it. So most likely I have been able to release your mask from your mold. So the mold is not going to be something that you keep, but it might be good for you to use today so that you can kind of have some stability as you work on this. Otherwise, you could be drawing on something and kind of collapse it. So I recommend just keeping the mold on it for today while you work with it, and then we'll remove the mold later. First though, you might want to just check the edges, and you can see here that maybe I want to trim some of this extra stuff off. So be careful not to over trim. Just kind of stay right along the edge there and get all of that extra stuff off. When I did all of my pasting, I glued down black eyes and nose. If you did not, you might have something more like this where you could put those things on now. I do have extras of those, or you could simply draw those details on. That's something that you can start to think about. In one of my finished ones, you can see that a lot of the details that I did were mostly cut paper. So you could kind of think about how you want to do that. Maybe you want to have a combination of drawing and cut paper. You guys are welcome to grab stuff from the scrap bin. If you need larger stuff, just let me know. And I just added a few sequins to just kind of shimmer it up a little bit. So the teeth I drew on, everything else was cut paper. Again, you decide what combination you want to do this. When you start doing details, I would recommend, especially little stuff, using a pencil first, and kind of think about drawing lightly so that you don't end up with stuff that you don't want. So with this mouth that I did here, it's very elaborate and detailed. I started off with a horizontal line all the way across, and then vertical slits through that, and then kind of did arches to kind of mimic the teeth. I'm going to do something a little bit more simple here. So you can kind of decide what it is you kind of look you want to go for. I'm just going to kind of make sure I know where the mouth is. And I'm still going to draw a horizontal line. I want to kind of make sure that they are both on the same side, so I'm going to go a little bit farther. And then I'm just going to do vertical slits. This is a little bit more stylized and simple, so it's not going to give you the idea of real teeth, but the impression that they are teeth. So I'm going to go ahead and put those details in. You know, don't be afraid to make a thick line versus just a thin pencil line. So that's kind of what I've got right now. Then you can think about what else. You do have these reference papers that you can check ideas for, and you can see a lot of them have flower images around the eyes. So that could be a popular thing to do. I also have over in the folders with 3 sets of these that kind of give you color images of the Book of Life and Coco, if you want to look at some of those. Some of these are really cute, but also fairly simple. So sometimes you don't need to overdo things when you are putting details on here. I grabbed some paper from the scrap bin. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna maybe make a few flower petals out of this, and I'm gonna accordion fold this so that I can get a bunch at once. So when you use folded paper, it does save you time, because you can get a lot accomplished with one cut. I need to cut the bottom there. I think there's a fold there. And then maybe I'll glue these on like this. Maybe find a sequence or something else to kind of cover up the middle there. Those might be too big, but that would be something that I could do to kind of add a detail to the eye. One thing that you might want to consider is that when you add these details on, you'll notice that these are mostly symmetrical. So if they have a design or an image on one side of the face, you see it repeated on the other. So kind of think about that when you're doing your designs and your details. The last thing I'm going to just show you briefly is how to add any sequins or glitter. That should really be the last thing that you do, because once you do that, you need to let it dry. So make sure that you are done with all of your drawing details and your paper details, and make sure you don't have any blobs of glue anywhere that you don't want glitter to get stuck to, because that's how we get the glitter to stick. So if you're going to do glitter, what you basically need to do is create a drawing with glue. So use your liquid glue, and I might even put a pencil line on here first of what I want to do, just to make sure. I think I might do eyebrows with glitter. So I'm just going to make sure that this is where I want it, and then I'll follow this pencil line with my glue line. I'm going to kind of make sure that they are in the same place on both sides, and then a thin bead of glue. That bead might be too thick. Sometimes with this, people tend to overdo it because I don't always give you glitter, and so then you're like, oh, I'm going to put glitter everywhere. But don't overdo it. Make sure you have some self-control with this, and less is more. Alright, so I got my glue where I want it. You're going to need a tub like this, and then we are going to pour the glitter onto the glue bead over the tub so that the tub catches anything that the glue doesn't get. And I can see that some of my glue is kind of starting to drip down, so that's one thing that you also have to be careful about, is that when you're working on something that's not flat, you have to consider what's going to happen. So like that's kind of falling down right now. So again, it's probably just like I maybe did my line too thick, so make sure your little glue lines aren't too thick. And then just kind of dump off the extra. If you've got glitter in places that you don't want, I would say just leave it until everything has had a chance to dry, and then you can try to get that stuff off next week when it's had a chance to dry. Same thing with sequins. When you place these on here, be kind of thoughtful about them and don't overdo them. You're going to want to put a dot of glue on your sequin or on your mask where you want this to go. You might want to kind of overdo it so that you know that it's going to stick. And I just stuck my finger right into that glitter. So again, it's just one of those things that you have to be cautious and careful about. So do, if you're going to do glitter, don't overdo it. Otherwise it just starts to get out of control and look a little tacky. So be careful when you're done with this. We'll put them back on the cart and let them re-dry again, and then we'll be able to hopefully take them home very soon.